Hey guys, how's it going? Today we are sort of chatting about full-time streamers, Path of Exile 2, in general the state of the game because I've now played it a lot more, and I've always loved discussion on my channel. Now this video has been reacted to by lots of big streamers. It's been reacted to by Quinn, Asmongold, all those from media to full-time streamers. The reason I'm picking this was the one that just landed on my page. Now, Tassi is a games journalist, so already he's got a bad rep because, modern day games journalists aren't the best. And obviously, PoE 2 is a super hardcore game with a super hardcore community, and the full-time streamers are really, really hardcore. I think the reason I wanted to make this video is because there aren't many channels out there that do like a bit of a grounding and be like, actually, this guy might have a point. Actually, the regular player might have a point. In Path of Exile, it is very much get good or go home. It's very, very elitist. It's I know people might say it's a very welcoming community, and it is, but it also has an incredible level of elitism. Now, I'm not going to run you through the entire video, just mainly some of the points, and then I want to talk about the end game. First of all, before the video's even begun, you can see in the chat, this guy just whines the whole time. Anyway, I'm going to log into D4. It's just become a meme now that if you, for some reason, have a critique about Path of Exile 2, you must be a Diablo player. You must be bad. You must have no idea about what makes a game good. When the reality is a video game should be fun. Now, fun is subjective. Fun could be, what was it called? The Boshy game where it was super difficult. It could be, happy-go-lucky Minecraft. Anything can be subjectively fun, right? However, in an ARPG, so there's certain expectations. Let's let the video roll, and I'm just going to pick and choose a few bits where I think maybe people are just been way too harsh on Tassi. And by the way, I'm not defending Tassi because, let's be honest, some of the takes in here are pretty bad. But we have to take each individual take on its own merit and look at it properly, because people are just bashing this because I'm a full-time streamer, whatever, I've got 20,000 subs or whatever these people have got, it's a bit unfair. So let's roll the tape.
The 14, 15 hour a day grinding streamer guys, but probably more than a lot of people who have just been kind of, playing the early access when they have a free moment or two. This is my job, so I have
Well, here's the thing, right?
So first of all, my first take is we've obviously got the full-time streamer eating, reacting to somebody else's video, looking at it very nonchalantly. But I do feel like you have to give these things a little bit more attention and focus, because basically I think she's about to shit on the guy for like 30 minutes straight whilst kind of not really actually paying attention to any of his points. I'm going to be real. She's eating, she's unfocused. This is just what streamers do. I get it. But what he's trying to say here, and this is the thing that always blows my mind, this guy says, yo, I'm a games journalist. I play games more than the average person. I've actually got to maps. And then automatically people are like, bro, you got to maps, you fucking idiot. Like, that's it? That's it? Bro, I know people that are truly casual. I was speaking to my brother-in-law the other day. He's in like Act 2. He's telling me about the game, that it's difficult and there's certain stuff that keeps one-shotting him and he's struggling. And yeah, I want to go, bro, your build fucking sucks, mate. But that's not always the case, right? You have to talk to people that play the game in a different way, because some of the points that these people make are valid, right? Just because they play less doesn't make them less valid. And I think people don't understand, because maybe they watch streamers all the time, they play the game 24/7, that yes, if you have got to maps in early access by like before the end of week 2, you've played a lot of the game, and you're allowed an opinion whether you've played 1 minute or 10,000 minutes. However, in PoE, it's kind of like if you haven't played the game from start to completion, you don't get a say. Okay?
I think the game's in a fine state for most players. But the reality of Path of Exile is you need a lot of time if you want to do everything in the game.
Yes, I do agree here with DS Lily. This isn't going to be I'm going to shit on DS Lily and streamer take, okay? I agree with a lot of the points that these people are saying. The problem, which you will go on to emphasize, is that a lot of people in Path of Exile will say the game is not very good because I can't do everything. Well, some games are just really, really big, and that is the game. There is the opportunity to play it for a long, long time and get everything done, or play it for a short time and have enjoyment, but you might not get to complete everything. Now, if you are the type of person that likes to complete everything but does not have a ton of time, then yeah, you probably won't like Path of Exile, and I also think that's a valid criticism. You know, my friend, he's working full-time. He hasn't played nearly as much as he would do previously in a Path of Exile 1 because there's new stuff to learn, which takes time, so he can't just pop in after work, blitz through the game because he knows everything. You know, it takes time to sit down and learn these things. And I think a lot of full-time streamers and just people in general, like, that are on Reddit or whatever, that like to crap all over these, like, casual players, they're not really understanding that, yeah, things do take time. You might have to sit down and learn for like an hour or something about the gem system and how the new gear works and how evasion works, and yeah, your build might get flattened, and it's okay for them to say, I'm not actually enjoying that experience. It doesn't mean the game's bad, but they are allowed to voice that experience, right? And I do think Lily's right here that with Path of Exile, it's a very weird game. You have to cater your expectations to like yourself. So if you don't play very much, don't expect to do the end content. So what that means for me is if this guy understands he doesn't have a lot of time and he can't do all of the end game, then that must mean there are a lot of other players that feel that way. So that must mean that each area of the game should be fun, because there are some people that don't have infinite time and won't reach the end game. So their point is that if I'm going from point A to B and I can't make it all the way to X, Y, Z, then A to B should still have some enjoyment for me, right? It shouldn't be, this game is completely miserable until your build is GG and you're smashing the end game. Because we've all played games like that where the ramp of difficulty isn't quite correct. You're not really having any fun. Your build then comes online, you obliterate everybody, and then there's no challenge. But I do think with streamers, they're not quite grasping the idea that yes, people don't play as much. Yes, they might be filthy casuals, right? But that doesn't mean that their experience shouldn't be fun, right? This is like a League of Legends player. They should still be having fun in bronze, even though they're not challenger. Let's continue.
People going with the expectation that they should be able to do everything.
Yeah, she talks about expectation, and
I've gone.
Oh, let me turn this.
I don't want to take all your time up, so we'll skip on.
Main issues here are that all of these dungeons are now, or these maps are now, one death over. You have one life, and if you die for any reason, you're out of the map. And not only are you out of the map, you can also no longer go back to that same map because it eats your waypoint token. So,
I mean, you can just open another map. It doesn't.
Okay, so this was where I watched the video on it, and I started to get a sense of the discrepancy between the streamer and the game's journalist. So what Paul Tassi is explaining here is, in Path of Exile 1, you open up your map. Let's say you've opened up your tier 10 strand map, and you're trying a fun build. You're not following a guide. Your build isn't perfect. You've made it to, let's say, tier 4 maps, okay? You've got to tier 4 maps. You're not sure whether you should have spec'd into damage or life, or maybe you should have taken away some damage and got some more res or some more effective HP pool. You go into the map, and you've never seen the Strand boss before, and bang, he's one-shot you. Now, in Path of Exile 1, you might be like, oh, damn, I didn't know that guy had a poison attack or whatever, right? I know the Strand boss doesn't have that before the PoE guys jump at me, but I'm just saying. So you would then go back into the map, right? You didn't portal, so you get put to the start of the map. You run to the boss again. You're like, okay, I'm a bit more ready for you this time. However, in Path of Exile 2, this doesn't happen. The map's closed, you're done. Now, this means two things, and this is the thing that the streamers, maybe because they just play a lot, don't really grasp, is when Lily says, but you just open another map, they're really, really not understanding that people don't have infinite time. You might come home from work, you might have 2 hours before, you've got to make dinner, whatever, things are busy, and you've got a couple of hours to yourself, and you play the game, and all of a sudden you die in the map because you've never seen the boss before. Now you've lost your token, right? So now you're going to have to drop down the tiers, which means you're going to have to refarm lower tier maps, which might not be as enjoyable to you in a fun sense, right? This is the key thing. That might not be very fun because your build might be very good at doing tier 3s and 4s. You might have got the way up to tier 6 and all of a sudden you've died. Now you're back into tier 3s and 4s. You're having to farm them, do multiple of them, and eventually, maybe after 5 or 6 maps, you get another tier 6 token, and you put it back in the slot, because Paul Tassi is wrong here. It doesn't eat the slot, just eats the token, and you go again. Now, the big thing here, the reason why I'm making this video, is they're not understanding that just because something can be done, and somebody doesn't want to do it, that doesn't make them a filthy scrub casual. What I mean by this is, let's take the Sanctum, for example. Loads of people hate the Sanctum. Now, the Sanctum can be made easier by running low-level Sanctums that you've already done over and over and over again, and getting relics and opening the chests that say relic box and opening the relics and then stacking honor resist, life, damage, roll distance, whatever it might be, and eventually you fill up your container full of good relics, and then you go into the tier 3 Sanctum and you breeze through it. Now, some of you will say that is awesome game design. And I like that. You can do the lower tier Sanctums, increase your chance of doing the tier 3 one, and there's tools there for the player to make the next one easier, or you can skip all of that and try it more difficult. I like that. I think that's a cool system. But the generation of Paul Tassi, games journalist, easy guy, are not necessarily wrong for saying that sucks, because that's not them wanting the game to be easier. And I think this is where the streamers get this wrong. They're not wanting the game to be super easy. What they're saying is actually it's not fun, and video games should be fun. Now, that's not to say give me everything, shower me with loot, but maybe there can be a different alternative. That's what they're looking for. Maybe Paul didn't voice this. Maybe instead of Path of Exile 1, when you die to the boss, maybe it lets you back in, but it doesn't drop any loot. You might think, well, that's pointless. Yeah, but then you could practice the fight. You could learn the fight knowing, okay, there's no loot going to drop here because I've died, but I can practice the fight. I would be interested to see everybody that's raving about this one portal system. If you were to play Delve in Path of Exile 1 and find an Aiul, and you were to die to the Aiul, and the Aiul was to disappear, or you had to... you couldn't visit that again until you'd found another Delve token, would you feel the same way? It would probably annoy you, right? It's just different strokes for different folks, shall we say. So the core crux of this video that's going on here is Lily is basically saying there are tools that can make you, Paul Tassi, enjoy the game more. You can improve your build. You can get more life. You can get better gear. If you're in maps with campaign gear, you need to upgrade your gear, or yes, you will have a bad time. And I totally agree with Lily and the streamers there. The game shouldn't hand you out freebies. One of the main things that Lily goes on to say in this video, and I'll link it, is that basically, I don't understand why people think they should get something for losing. That is the main thing. The main takeaway from this entire 28 minutes is basically Paul Tassi says, I've watched Creparian. I am currently being one-shot in my maps and losing my maps and my tokens. I'm going to watch an experienced player give his thoughts. Creparian gives his thoughts, and he says, yeah, no matter what build you're building, bro, you're going to be one-shot. And that cycle of lose map, have to go back down tiers, go up tiers, potentially lose map, go down tiers because you don't know the boss, farm the maps, get up the tiers, still don't know the boss, go down the tiers. And the whole time this is happening, you're losing 15% XP. Now, Lily, throughout the video, pretty much, and Quinn and all the other people are just laughing at Paul Tassi like, bro, you're just bad. But I understand where Paul Tassi's coming from, to be honest. And a lot of casual players and people that aren't casual, I don't like that word, but, you know, just Path of Exile players, they also feel that way. It doesn't make them bad. It doesn't make them a scrub. It doesn't also mean they want the game to be super easy and ruin your experience. But it's this double jeopardy thing, right? It's like in football, if you tackle the guy and give away a penalty, I'm talking about soccer here, you can't send the guy off. There's too much punishment. In Path of Exile 2, yes, we want the game to be difficult, but when you go to a boss and you die and you just don't know the mechanics because you've never seen it, losing the map, all the loot, the token, going back down multiple tiers, having to wait till you can find another token, and losing 15% XP, that's a lot. And for a lot of players, they will turn off the game. And what people get mixed up is they're like, well, we don't want those players anyway. You do. For a game to be successful, those players matter the most. And when I see in the chat room, like, for example, you can just look at the chat up here. Oh no, I have to think when I run maps. He wants to do well. Should he go play D4? This dude wants the game to be beaten for him. He wants to kill Shaper with his Act 4 gear. He wants to steamroll without having to think about it. This video makes me mad. I feel like obviously they're in a streamer's chat, so they're trying to mimic their opinion. But there's loads and loads of people that feel like this, that basically if the guy doesn't want to do the entire of the game deathless, that they're a scrub. Let's listen to Paul Tassi and some more takes, and then I'm also going to take you to Reddit as well.
Wait, no, that is not what Chris was saying.
Lower tier ones, and even those, if you step the wrong way, you can lose. And there's nothing, you can really do about your build to fully change that.
I mean, yeah, some things, but like, dude, I don't know. I don't die to. I'm very squishy outside of my evasion, and I do not actually die that much, except to the few overtuned things. I don't think there's nearly as many overtuned things as I originally thought. I think there's maybe like 5 monsters.
So here's another thing that goes on, and it's the theme of Path of Exile 2 in the video. It's this idea that, well, if the thing is balanced and it's tuned well, that's totally cool to be in the game, right? But we've got to factor in, and the big thing here that people, for some reason, seem to just constantly forget when talking about Path of Exile, is this game is a game that will have 3-month league cycles. Most players only play for probably 3 to 5 weeks and then burn out. So you've got to be able to do 90% of the game in 3 to 5 weeks, right? Otherwise, you're always going to feel like I've missed out. I'm not saying that that's right or wrong. I get the idea that if you want to do everything, you need to spend a bit more time. But trust me, all the Path of Exile leagues I've ever played, all my friends list all disappear after about a month. And they like to get to maps and do some endgame bosses, and then they quit. They're talking about this as in, oh, well, there are tools that you can do and get and create that make this problem less frustrating. But they're not understanding that the game resets, and you're going to have to do this every single time. So let's look at the Sanctum example. Can you run tier 1 and tier 2 Sanctums 20 times to get really good fragments and relics that will make tier 3 Sanctums and tier 4 Sanctums better? Absolutely. Do people genuinely want to do that? Like, is that a fun thing? This is where the problem is. It has to be fun, and it also has to not be... Let me explain it. If you go and run all of the relics, and then you trivialize the 3rd Sanctum, now you're thinking to yourself, I need to do that every time. I'm going to have to go get my relics. Or you trade, and you completely skip past all of the progression in the game, which is what makes PoE fun. So yes, there are tools in the game that are available to you that you can do to make the game easier and more fun, aka farm Sanctum over and over and over again. But do players actually want to do that? Can we come up with a different idea? It's very clear when we look at these when we look at these kind of videos of I've enjoyed the game, but I'm sitting out until the Portal 1 gets removed. This is this thing, like, people will call this guy a scrub, but one death and the entire attempt is gone, right? Yes, you can farm 5 to 6 rows in a go, but it's just going to be met with people like this. Yo, get good, get better, build. I understand that not everybody can compete and kill every single boss in the game, that there is an element of get good. But what people are trying to say is, I don't enjoy the experience. It's not because I'm a casual. It's because I'm not feeling progression. I think Paul Tassi's video is pretty bad, let me make that clear. He gets a lot of stuff wrong, and Lily, in a lot of her counterpoints, gets a lot of stuff right. I'll link the video down below. However, what people, again, are really, really not understanding is Paul Tassi and the casuals are not saying, make the game super easy for me. What they're saying is, I want to feel just a little bit of progression. That's what I want to feel. I just want to feel a little bit of progression whilst losing. That doesn't mean I want to... This is the key thing here to take away. Elitists, full-time streamers will say, why do you want to win whilst you're losing? If you don't kill the boss, why do you want to get another portal? Why do you want to win? No. People don't want to win. They just don't want to infinitely lose forever. There has to be a feeling of progression. When you die in a tier 11 map in Path of Exile 1 because you've gone in too early and your gear isn't as good, you might think, I've lost 10%, but I might be able to get back in there, kill some trash, maybe get 4 or 5% back. I might get a drop whilst I'm in there because, you know, it's a slightly higher level zone. Maybe I might learn the mechanic a little bit better. Who knows? But when you're just kicked out, you learn nothing. Except in this game, you're not just kicked out. You're kicked out, your token's gone, your loot's gone, and there's a whole other myriad of issues there. But I'm telling you, all the people that are super happy about this, eventually it'll come to a point where they get randomly one-shot by something, by some mechanic, some bad layout, some collision, whatever, and there'll be their GG item sat on the floor, and they won't be able to pick it up because the loot's gone, and they will feel bad. Now, we can come up with some better ideas. We could say, when you die, all of the monsters you've currently spawned you can fight, and the monsters only spawn when you get up to them or something like that. We could say that when you die, you're able to go back and loot. Maybe the map's frozen in stasis. The monsters are all frozen and you can go and loot or whatever. There are no more monsters spawning, but you can go back and loot. Maybe when you kill a boss and you fail, that nothing drops, but you can go back in there and practice the mechanics, right? But the player has to feel a little bit of progression. You can't just knock them all the way down and be like, do it again, bro. Because yes, there are people out there, full-time streamers, that will enjoy that. But there are a lot, and it don't mean the scrub casuals, but there are a lot that don't enjoy it. I mean, look at the crafting. People are going to say, well, there are loads of options to craft, but people will not enjoy the fact that you can't harvest res swap. Some people will say it's broken. Some people will say, well, if we can craft, the game's too easy. And then some people might say, well, I only play the game for crafting, so if crafting isn't in the game, I'm not playing. It's become a bit strange that we can't really critique the game without being labelled as a fucking filthy casual, let's be honest.
There's a lot, because you'll see the
Sites of Grace on that part of the map.
back in and pick up your runes.
What am I doing at all at that point? So
You're losing.
that's why I'm done for now. I
That's what you're doing. You're losing.
would love to come back to this.
So that's the idea, right? He basically goes and says, if I'm running up to tier 11 and I'm dying and I'm losing my stone and I'm losing XP and I'm not leveling up, what's even going on here? She just laughs and says, well, you're losing. And yes, it is true. It is true, though. But it's just not very... I just feel like it's not a great attitude, I'll be honest. Because he's not moaning about the fact he's losing. He's moaning about the fact nothing's happening. That's what he's saying. And the idea is it's just met with, bro, get good. Bro, get good. Is that what we want the game to become? I don't think most players might be excited about a little bit of Dark Souls action, but if you really wanted meaningful combat, then you could have every single rare have a skill set, and you're having to dodge and like the point I feel that has been brushed over and missed is we like a hard game. I actually think, probably, I'll be honest, you can get through the maps too easily if you're a no-lifer, but I understand there's got to be a balance, right? I understand that your build can get pretty good and delete stuff. I've seen some broken builds on PoE too, right? But it doesn't make these guys wrong. It doesn't make them wrong. Does it mean the game should cater to them? Probably not, no. But I just find the attitude crazy, man.
It's early access. You know, they're going to make big changes to this and that, and there's more.
You know, like people in the chat, XD, you suck, you're losing, you're bad, like, how can you be a casual? He's a Destiny fanboy. He wants an easy mode. He's not got any resistances. He's lying. I bet he went into tier 1 maps with no resistances and 1.5k life, lol. You know,
that if the end goal is just amplifying the current issues, if I put another 100 hours in, it doesn't really feel worth.
This is the key thing, right? What I feel Paul Tassi was trying to say in his video, and in general the casuals are trying to say, is when Kriparian said, listen, it doesn't matter how good your build gets, there will be mechanics and rares and so on that if you do not play correctly, you will die and lose. And what people are saying is, well, I actually like an ARPG to have fun. I don't want to be 24/7 brain switched on. It's very hard to play a game with your brain switched on 24/7. Now, people will probably call me an absolute fucking casual for that. But even Neversink admits it, right? I can't remember where the the tweet was, but he also explained that you just can't play a game 24/7 with your brain switched on all of the time, because it's just not fun. And I think here he is, he goes on to explain, a grindy game can't expect constant cerebral gameplay. Keeping up max concentration to look out for rare monsters and inspect their mods gets tiring. That is not somebody asking for the game to be super fucking easy. It's asking for the game in certain moments to tell the player, you're okay to relax here, enjoy this map. Now you're going to fight a boss, now you might need to focus. This is a bit of a rare that you might need to focus on, but constantly having to think about it, you cannot get into the flow state. People will probably rag on this video, they'll call me an idiot, but there will be people out there that know exactly what I'm on about. You want to go on PoE, you want to get a decent build that you've had to think about, but the reward should be, you can chill a little bit, and I'm not going to lose my map and 15% and the token and the, right? I saw people laughing at Quinn. People were laughing at Quinn because he believes you should be able to overgear all content. They were like, you're dumb. No, he's spot on. The reward of an ARPG should be, I have thought about my build, I have put enough time into my build that I am trivializing content. I don't think PoE 2 wants you to ever trivialize content, because there are bosses and mechanics in the game that if you do not roll or dodge at the correct time, it's game over. It is Dark Souls. Right? Whereas I believe, let me know in the comments if you've watched this far, but I believe that you should be able to trivialize content eventually. Maybe it takes a long ass time, but eventually you should be able to overgear and relax, and that's your reward for basically completing the ARPG, the power fantasy. So what Paul Tassi, I think, is trying to say is he doesn't want to sink a load of time into PoE 2 because the power fantasy isn't there. There will always be something to basically fuck you up and set you back a long way. So he's thinking, why should I put another 300 hours into this game if that same frustration is going to be there? Also to note, this is where Twitch chat and this elitist bullshit is ridiculous. He says that Kripparrian is given some good ideas and takes, so he respects it because Kripp is a top player. The comment section is like, is he? Does he spam his APM bar fast? Is he XD? Kripp is a top player. Kripp is a top player. Lamau, no flame, but he's shit. These fucking idiots, and I'll call them out, bro. These idiots that talk like this are so lost in the sauce, bro. Yes, Kripparrian is a top player. Think of all the people that have ever played Path of Exile. Kripparrian knows the ins and outs of the game. He knows what he's doing. Is he the most mechanical, gifted god you've ever seen? No. But in terms of Path of Exile, if you take the average Joe that's played 10 minutes of Path of Exile and give him a PoE quiz compared to Kripparrian, Kripparrian knows about PoE, bro. In terms of players that are up there and good, he is a top player. These people that are like, he's not got mechanics, he can't dodge. Kripparrian's dog shit. He's not as good as Ben. You should go play D4. Lamau, bro. Read, I feel like on the internet, I feel like the reason people have arguments is people don't read between the lines. They just go, Paul Tassi said that the Waystone checkpoint gets removed. It doesn't. He's wrong. He's a fucking idiot. That's not what he's trying to say. Read between the lines. What he's trying to say is, it sounds like in 300 hours, even if I've grinded and built my build up to a super duper level, it's still going to be a bit slow. I'm still going to have to focus 24/7, and I'm still going to get one shot if I don't roll. I mean, no matter how good your build is, if that drowning orb comes and drowns you, you're dead. You see Quinn react to it on his game because he's playing hardcore, right? Does that mean he's a super casual because he doesn't like that mechanic? This is a good take. I don't know why it's controversial to say one death per map is bad for a lot of folks. It is. Can we agree that Path of Exile compared to FIFA or Call of Duty is a pretty daunting, overwhelming, hard game to get into? Yes, I think we can. So why is it a bad thing to say that the vast majority of people are not going to enjoy that? They're already playing a very difficult game, and now we're adding layers and layers of frustration onto it. Losing 10% XP is already fucking annoying enough. Having to run through the map again in a map that you've already died. We've all been there. You've been level 97 or something. You've died in the map, and you've thought to yourself, do I even want to go back in that map and get one shot again? Nah, fuck that map, I'm closing it. But that's because you're making the choice. When the choice is taken away from you, it's different. That's not controversial. That doesn't make me a casual. That doesn't make me a fucking idiot. It makes me a person with an opinion. Okay? End of video.